Every time Meghan Markle's name and the letters U and K appear in the same sentence, certain corners of the British press start vibrating like an overworked kettle. Social media is suddenly flooded with breathless speculation, dramatic headlines, and the kind of hysteria normally reserved for royal weddings or the final season of a reality show. This time, the noise comes from a single, deliciously absurd question that has taken over timelines everywhere. Will Meghan return to Britain if proper security is restored? And judging by how panicked some commentators already sound, you would think she was planning a royal invasion instead of a quiet visit. The truth is simple. Meghan's possible return has become a cultural event in its own right. Not because she has done anything outrageous, but because her mere presence still holds an extraordinary power over the media ecosystem. Some newspapers treat her like a walking catastrophe. Others treat her like a tabloid jackpot. Either way, she remains the main character whether they like it or not, and that alone should tell you who really runs the narrative. This latest meltdown was sparked by a Daily Mail column that reads less like journalism and more like a badly written soap opera script. In it, royal commentator Sarah Vine tries to imagine what Meghan's UK visit might look like, and instead of presenting facts, she builds a fantasy filled with dramatic camera angles, emotional montages, and suspiciously specific Instagram shots. Apparently, Meghan wouldn't just walk off a plane. Oh no. According to this cinematic vision, she would glide off in slow motion, with paparazzi clicking, Harry shielding her, and the entire moment carefully framed for maximum drama. It is remarkable how critics accuse Meghan of being theatrical while simultaneously writing her like a blockbuster movie. The column paints Meghan as a sort of calculated mastermind, staging scenes of kindness, vulnerability, and elegance purely for the camera. We are told she would be comforting veterans, posing by lakes, sipping tea, and gently holding hands as though she were filming a royal rom-com. But what is really happening here is not an exposé of Meghan. It is a confession from the press. They are telling us exactly how they would cover her, exploit her and monetize her every breath, then turning around and accusing her of wanting the attention. That is projection at its finest. The snark reaches peak ridiculousness when Meghan's lifestyle brand gets dragged into it, with jokes about flower sprinkles and herbal tea being handed out like party favours. Imagine thinking that a woman running a successful lifestyle brand is somehow scandalous. If Meghan were doing this quietly in California, it would be called entrepreneurship. When she does it with a British accent in the background, suddenly it is treated like a global threat. What really rattles certain people is not Meghan's presence, but her image. She is poised, controlled, and extremely aware of how the press twists her story. So when Sarah Vine imagines black and white photos, wistful looks, and carefully curated moments, what she is actually saying is that Meghan understands optics. And in a royal system built entirely on optics, that makes her dangerous to those who want to own the narrative. Then comes the inevitable comparison to Kate, framed as the long-suffering saint who would allegedly rather boil her own head than share a polite moment with Meghan. The line is meant to sound witty, but it reveals far more about the columnist than about either woman. It suggests that Meghan's very existence is somehow unbearable, as though simply standing in the same space would cause spontaneous combustion. That is not commentary. That is melodrama. What makes this even more absurd is that Meghan is not the one pushing this story. The speculation exists because Prince Harry's security situation is under review. That is it. A legal and logistical matter has been turned into a full-blown tabloid soap opera. Whether Meghan comes or not depends on safety, not on whether she can get the perfect Instagram shot by a lake. Yet the press keeps spinning it into a narrative of manipulation, ambition, and supposed plotting. The column even goes so far as to suggest that Meghan somehow needs the chaos for streaming deals and profit, as though a woman who already has global attention is desperate for more drama. The irony is painful. The same outlets that generate history about her then accuse her of benefiting from the history they created. That is like throwing confetti at someone and blaming them for the mess. Harry, meanwhile, is portrayed as stubborn for insisting on safety, even though his entire adult life has been shaped by what happens when security fails. He is not being dramatic, he is being responsible. But responsibility does not sell papers, so it gets reframed as obsession. What really sits underneath all of this is fear. Meghan's return, even a quiet one, would expose just how flimsy the narratives around her have become. She is no longer the helpless outsider. She is confident, established, and unafraid to live on her own terms. That terrifies a press system that relies on controlling royal stories. And that is why this imaginary itinerary reads like fan fiction written by someone who desperately wants Meghan to be either a villain or a spectacle. They cannot accept that she might simply exist without playing the role they wrote for her. So here we are, watching the same people who booed her years ago now obsess over where she might walk, sit, smile, or sip tea. They claim to dislike her, yet they cannot stop talking about her. That, right there, is power. Meghan does not need to prove anything to anyone. Her mere presence still makes headlines, shakes tabloids, and sends commentators into theatrical spirals. Whether she returns or not, the frenzy proves exactly why Harry insists on safety and why Meghan continues to move with caution. The noise is not about her behaviour, it is about her influence. And that is why this story matters. Not because of the gossip, but because it shows how a woman who refused to be boxed in still dominates a system that tried very hard to silence her. If you enjoyed this breakdown, and you love seeing through the media smokescreens, make sure you subscribe to the Sussex Insights for more sharp, honest, and entertaining coverage. This channel is where the truth about Meghan and Harry gets told without the tabloid tantrums, and you do not want to miss what comes next.